Has Ilham Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan, suffered a psychotic rift? Is he suffering from schizophrenia? Is he out of touch with reality? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sovereign Artsakh. I'm Michael, a Hollywood guy working on the Soghomon Tehlirian story. So if you stay tuned till the end of this channel is committed to what's going on today in Armenia and what happened 100 years ago in Berlin, actually. So if you are familiar with the Soghomon Tehlirian story, the Armenian who assassinated the architect of the first genocide of the 20th century, the Armenian genocide, also referred to as the Christian Holocaust of 2 million Christians. If you're interested in that story, stay tuned. We're talking about what was going on in Soghomon Tehlirian's life exactly 100 years ago. But before I read this article, I'm going to read this and one other article before that. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video or this channel. But most importantly, right now, you know what I'm going to say. Click the like button. Click the like button now. All right. And subscribe and share. That's very important. Fraud Masterclass from Aliyev. Once again, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev did not miss the opportunity to make unfriendly and impudent, to put it mildly, statements against Armenia. Moreover, according to tradition, Aliyev managed to express contradictory thoughts. At a Baku conference entitled New Vision for South Caucasus, Post-Conflict Development and Cooperation, Aliyev first stated that his country had no territorial claims against any country, including Armenia. However, later, Aliyev stated that Armenia's Zanzibar was historical Azerbaijani land, at the same time noting that Zanzibar was transferred to Armenia in 1920, 101 years ago. Before that, this territory belonged to us, Azerbaijanis. Armenians, call Lake Goycha Sevan. It is enough to look at the map of the beginning of the 20th century. You will not see Sevan there. The same applies to Yerevan, i.e. Armenia's capital, Yerevan, as well. They, Armenians, destroyed the historical part of Yerevan. It is an obvious fact that Azerbaijanis, including my ancestors, lived there. I said we would go back there. I did not say we would return there by tanks. I said we would go back. That means, why not? If we return the Zanzibar corridor, if we use that road, why not return to Yerevan? The time will come and we will do it. And we will do it, he added. That's ominous, an ominous portent. Aliyev's latest statement requires psychiatric evaluation, according to this historian. Azeri leader Ilham Aliyev's latest statement, where on one hand he said he doesn't have any territorial demands towards Armenia, but at the same time absurdly claimed that Yerevan, Lake Sevan, and the Syunik province were Azeri territories, require a psychiatric evaluation, according to historian Ruben Melkonian, an expert on Turkish studies. We must understand that Azerbaijan's real policy is the encroachment against various territories of Armenia. The other part of the statement is the issue of other specialists, namely the evaluation of psychiatrists, as to how can Aliyev state his aspirations toward Yerevan, Sevan, Syunik, and at the same time say that he doesn't have territorial demands against Armenia. Melkonian said, speaking about President Aliyev's April 13th statement. So this is all today. Melkonian noted that this isn't the first time that Aliyev is making such statements, speaking about Aliyev's yet another fake statement claiming that the Armenian Lake Sevan had a different name 100 years ago. Melkonian said he would advise the Azeri leader to take a look at maps of an earlier period and see whether or not a country named Azerbaijan existed at all back then. I think this all proves that a country exists in our neighborhood which doesn't have anything to do with internationally accepted standards, and that country's mentality and conduct in the 21st century are in line with a prehistoric system and with expansionistic approaches outside any order. Yeah, well, obviously Aliyev is speaking out both sides of his mouth. I don't think he's psychologically disturbed. I think he's just evil. Well, he's a politician with authoritarian power and designs on the territory. He and Erdogan are in cahoots, wanting to eliminate this nuisance in between them. Turkey and Azerbaijan, one nation, two states. Their goal is to ultimately eliminate Armenia. Look, this is Lake Sevan that he's talking about. And here's Yerevan. So if these are Azerbaijani territories, there is no Armenia. All right. Remember to subscribe and share. Now we're going to talk about this guy. Again, this picture was taken around the time he was in jail. I think it may have been taken while he was in jail. So this is Soghomon Tehlirian, the hero of heroes, hero of Armenia, hero of the world. One of my goals here is to get his name into everybody's mind. His name should be a household name because of what he did. All right, I'm going to, first of all, today being April 13th, this is almost exactly 4 weeks in jail. So in a couple days, he will have been in jail. 100 years ago, he will have been in jail for 4 weeks. His trial's coming up in June. So he's sitting in a jail cell. On April 8th, he was pushed some sheets of paper under the door of his cell and a pencil, and he began writing immediately. And if you go back a couple episodes, I read the very first words that he wrote, and then I reflected on them in another episode. And today we're going to read about how that day ended. So April 8th, he received paper. And the first thing he wrote was about March 15th, his first day in jail. Well, the morning of that day. He wrote about how that day started. Now we're going to read about how that day ended, his recollections. I'm going to skip some stuff, but it's right here. This is what I'm going to read today. Sitting here, I start thinking about the day's events. So he's been ushered to and fro, been questioned multiple times. So far, no translator has been brought. He says his name, he says he's Armenian, and then he can't answer any more questions. He does not speak German. He's very, very, very little German. He can't answer coherently these questions. So he's been moved from a holding cell to now he's in a jail cell. He's not yet been transferred to the prison. This is still the first day. This is March 15th, 1921. Sitting here, I start thinking about the day's events, but I still can't remember what happened and why I am here. If you had been following along, he had a blackout or a memory lapse in between when he woke up and when he's being hauled to jail. The actual events that made him famous, this first day, he doesn't remember it. He goes through the rest of the day not recalling the details. Come back to him later, but I still can't remember what happened and why I am here between the four walls of this dark room. At that very instant, a lantern is lit in the hallway. Passing through my cell's tiny window, the faint rays of the light barely illuminate a section of the opposite wall. It is in this section that I notice a drawer built into the wall. I get up and open it. In it, I find a rather large clay cup, a salt shaker full of salt, and a dish with a spoon. In addition, on a shelf above the drawer are placed a clay bowl full of water, intended for washing, and a jug holding about 3 or 4 liters of water. I also notice some kind of contraption with a wooden lid placed in a corner under the drawer. I lift the lid, and I'm struck by a sharp stench. At once, I close the lid back, having realized that the device is a portable toilet. My wound pains lessen a bit, so he's been bandaged up from the beating he took from the mob. My wound pains lessen a bit, very late in the night. I am famished. I bring the foods that I had placed on a side of the bed to the table and start eating. I have eggs, butter, and bread, but only 2 cigarettes. Now, I skipped over a bunch of stuff where he keeps asking for cigarettes. He keeps asking for cigarettes. So he's a smoker. I have only 2 cigarettes, and I wonder what to do when I run out of tobacco. After eating a bit, I light a cigarette. But after smoking barely half of it, I put it out, saving it for later. I plunge into the straw bed and become immersed in deep thoughts. I picture all the days of my life and realize that of all those days, this last day has been the happiest. It is with this state of mind that I fall asleep. The happiest day of his life. Here he is falling asleep in prison with a bandaged head and a cigarette and a half left and a stench from a portable toilet. The happiest day of his life. And he can't even remember why. He can't remember the details. I suddenly wake up and see that I've slept with my clothes on. As usual, I extend my hand to the wall immediately next to my bed in order to turn on the light, but notice that there's no switch. For a moment, I am flabbergasted and jump up to see what's going on. But then I come to my senses, realizing that I am in prison, not my bedroom. I light the half cigarette I have saved and start smoking it. Once again, I sink into the bed, but can no longer sleep. It is to be a long, sad night. I keep wishing for daybreak soon. But alas, it feels as though I would never see another morning again, as minutes last as long as hours and days. If only there were a light in the room. I don't even have that, which would have let me see the four walls of my cell. If only I had enough cigarettes, but with whose smoke it would have been possible to somewhat alleviate the sadness bearing down on my soul that night. Alas, I didn't even have this, as my last cigarette had been consumed to its very tip. I live a century of suffering and torment before day breaks. Holy crap, this guy's... I live a century of suffering and torment before day breaks. What contrasts. This is the happiest day of his life, yet he lives a century of suffering. Okay, that's it. We'll comment more on this and maybe read more next time. See you then. Remember to subscribe. Pass this along. This has got to be interesting to some more people in your life. Let's get this channel growing some more. I'm going to keep doing this. And so click like, but click subscribe and share with someone right now. I challenge you, every one of you, share this with someone now.